Hello and welcome to Hobby Log number 215. Now this week has had a very tough slant to it, but I've managed to get through it and I've still got a smile on my face, so that's what matters. Before we do anything else, let's talk about the Reaper Challenge. If you want to be entered into the draw, which I think is going to happen once a month and then once at the end of the year, then pick one of the miniatures that you see on screen right now, and the one that gets the most votes I will paint next week. Now last week we had a tie. We had a tie between Dancing Girls and the Hill Troll. I rolled the dice and the Hill Troll won. So this is the one that I'm going to paint this week. And last week we had the bar and I got that painted as well. So the video for that will be coming out on An Average Painter and that will be out tomorrow. So you can watch how I did that. But I'm really enjoying this. So please do get involved. Just put a comment below with one of the miniatures which was listed on the screen before. They're also in the description below, and you'll be entered into the draw both for this month and also for the entire year. So having said that, I've had a good week, started a huge project, finished a couple, just been trucking on as much as I possibly can through the personal issues that I've got going on, and yeah, just going to keep on trucking, as they say. So thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you again at the end. So we're back downstairs. Last week the recording didn't capture the audio, so none of our fun and banter got recorded before or after the game, which is a right shame. So can either of you remember what happened last week?
We got into Hard Bottle and then Charlotte Williams. That was weeks ago. That was
weeks ago, Hard Bottle, yeah. We're not Hard Bottle anymore. Can you remember the name of the place that we went to?
Scary.
Yeah, so we went to Scary, but we were not welcomed, were we? They were a bit grumpy, weren't they?
Yes, they were a bit grumpy.
However, I think that you found out that it was at the Otho stayed at the bunkhouse.
Yes, I know that, but I'm not gonna tell you.
No, well you did. So it was owned by a mining company, and we went in and we had a chat and we talked to an accountant, and we found out that Otho was talking about treasure and mines.
Yes, and he was sitting with a dwarf drinking beer.
Yeah, I think that was a week before, but yes, but you are remembering well. Good girl.
He had a big
He did, and he was muttering about he was going to become a respected member of the community.
And he was writing.
Yes, he was writing in a big book. Well done, that's what the accountant was writing in. So what we did was we went over to the mine.
I got in through the big tunnel.
Well, you actually got caught, do you remember?
Yeah.
You tried to sneak, and you were caught attempting to sneak into the tunnel. So we've actually gone back after dark to try to gain entry to this mine that we think Otho might be in, and that's where we ended the session. Very scary, very scary, dark and spooky place. So let's get into this. Hopefully the audio was picked up, and we'll come back at the end of the session. I'm quite looking forward to this one. It's going to be quite an exciting one, I think. So yeah, we'll come back at the end of the session and let you know how it's gone. Are you excited?
Yeah.
Are you excited?
Yeah.
Wow, I barely slept. Neither did Angela, so we'll see how well it goes. But yeah.
I slept really well.
Of course you did, we were very pleased. So Rosie's got lots of energy, but neither of us have, but we're going to give it a go, so let's get to it. So that was a fun session, and we've just finished, and we finished the entire adventure. So yeah, so Rosie's very excited to tell you what happened. So Rosie, can you remember everything that happened in this campaign and today?
Yes, we found also, we got half of the fight.
That's a very quick summary. Well done. So we were hunting through down the valley, and we went into several of the tunnels. We found a map, didn't we, in the first one?
Yes.
Which meant that when we found the right tunnel, we were probably going to be able to know we're in the right tunnel.
And we found some blood.
We did. In another tunnel, we found the evidence of an accident, a broken pickaxe and some blood, but no body or bones. So we think that it was maybe just someone got hurt, and they weren't badly hurt, we hope. And then...
And we see a big hole.
Yeah, and we went down another one. Lobelia took us down another tunnel that was only 3 foot deep, didn't you? Didn't you, Lobelia?
Yes.
Yes, you did. But then eventually, as we got to the end of the valley, we found what was the right tunnel, and you were able to guide us down it, weren't you, with your map? And as we got to the end, it got a bit scary, didn't it? Do you remember what happened? What did you hear? A scream.
Scream.
There were screams and shouts, and around a corner was Otho backed up against a big pile of rocks with an orc attacking him, wasn't there?
Yeah. We got him away.
What did you do? Because you were very smart.
I was hidden by the wall and I shot at him. But it just knocked his hat over.
Yeah, so Rosie, or not Rosie, sorry, Primula took cover behind a rock and loosed an arrow, but it bounced off his head. Lobelia attacked recklessly, but the orc managed to deflect. But then Barlin got involved with Barlin's axe and took a big chunk out of his shoulder, and I managed to fight quite defensively and get through his guard, and those two attacks were enough to drive the orc off, and we saved the day, didn't we? Yeah, and Otho agreed to swap half of the fireworks in exchange for us signing off on his claim for this part of the mine, which we agreed to, didn't we, love? I know. And when we got back to Scary, we told the mine officials about the orc. And what did they find when they went hunting? Can you remember, Lobelia? No, you're not Lobelia. Let Mummy speak. Mummy's not spoken.
An abandoned camp, orc camp.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'd managed to drive the orc off, hadn't we?
So, yeah. It's run away really far.
Yeah, and so we're back at Bag End now, and Bilbo has stored the fireworks. Yes, well done, that's Bag End.
Whereabouts is Bag End? No, I mean, whereabouts is Bilbo?
Oh, no, but Bag End is over here, sorry. Bag End's here. This is Bag End. That's Buckland. We're back at Bag End, and that is the end of that adventure. So we will be, next week we will distribute some of our experience, and then we'll have a look at the next campaign. So are you excited for that, Rosie?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
Yes.
Good.
This is where Bilbo lives.
No, this is where Bilbo lives. Bag End here. Look, you see that? Can you see that big tree?
No.
That's where he lives. That's where he lives. Right, so let's wrap that up. That's been really fun. Glad to have got the game. And it was first ever attempt at combat, and it was a little bit... I had read it through, but now I've done it, I think we'll be quite smooth with it. So that was nice. So we'll probably have a little bit more combat coming up as we go forwards. But yeah, what do you say to the camera?
Bye now.
Bye now. See you again next week.
I'm going.
Goodbye, Rosie. All right, my green stuff, not my green stuff. My milliput has dried, so what we're going to do now is put a little bit of texture on, like I say, and then when that's dried, I will then paint it and finish this off. So hopefully this won't take very long. Now I'm going to use the sifted sand that I have, not sifted, so sifted dirt, not the sifted sand, just because it's going to be a little bit finer. I think that's going to work a little bit better. So we'll scatter that over, and hopefully, yep. Because that's so fine, the ruts are still visible, which is what I wanted to achieve. So that's good news. There we are, nice visible ruts. So I'll let that dry and then come and paint it. The paint will seal it, but I'll let that dry first before I do anything else. And I'll bring you back when I'm coming to the ceiling. I've primed up all of my English Nationality starter set miniatures. So what I'm going to do, put them back into their boxes, take them downstairs and then paint them up one set at a time. I will film all of these for an average painter, and I will report back on here on Beard Clipper once each set has been painted. I have until the end of February, I think, for the date for the challenge, so I've got a couple of months to do this, but I'm going to get cracking on them as soon as I can, because what often happens with large projects is you make a really good start and then bog down, and then it kind of sits for a bit, and then you finish them ages later. That seems to be what happens with me, so I need to get cracking on this. So yeah, I'm going to pop these back in their little blister boxes, which make it easier to keep them under control and know which one is which. And yeah, get them done. Pretty excited to get these painted. After this, there's only one more starter a Nationality box set remaining that I've got, so I'm finally working my way through these, which is good. Anyway, yeah, watch out for these to be completed, and then shortly after these appear on Beard Clipper, the actual painting video will appear on an average painter. Let's get to it. Now, this is the winning miniature, as miniature in a way I suppose, for week 2, which is the Dark Heaven Bones Bar 77618. So let's get into this. and have a look at it. And what I'll then do is give it a good scrub, give it a wash, and then get it painted. And that painting will be on an average painter, and then I'll show what it looks like back here on the vlog at the end of the week when I've done it. So as you can see, it's quite a simple miniature. We have some barrels with some taps in. We have some cupboards underneath with exterior hinges and handles. So it's going to be quite a simple painting with some ideas that I've got for blinging it up a little bit on the top, like maybe putting some beer mug stains and what have you on the top, but I'll paint it clean first and then weather it up afterwards. So I'll put that in some hot water, give it a good scrub with some hot soapy water, let that dry, get it primed in my normal grey primer, and then take it downstairs and get it painted. So let's get this done. I've got a week to do it, so better get on with it. Right, so I've left this overnight, and I think that my very basic, managed to stick some to the actual clamp there. I think my very basic clamping has worked sufficiently. So if you have a look at that, you can see that they're bent in nicely, and that's looking okay. So what I'm going to do now is just shake all that dirt off, just like that, put it back into the tray. And what we're going to do now is work with Luke's modelling compound, which I haven't used for a little while, but I do use a lot. I haven't used it on the channel for a fair while, so I will show a little bit of how I mix it up, and then most of this I will do off camera because it is a little bit repetitive. So the way that I work it is I just get some into a little tray like that. You don't need very much. You want to mix it up in small batches, otherwise it will end up going off, and that will really annoy you. And then just put a little bit of water in. Now the key here is you can add more water if you don't put enough in, but if you put too much water in, you've got to add more modelling compound, and that means that your batch gets bigger. So just mix it up until you think you might need to add a little bit more water, and add a small amount, not a lot at a time, just a little bit and a little bit, and that will get you to your correct texture. So we will keep mixing that until we're at the correct texture. Now on this one, I don't actually want it to be too soggy. I want it to be quite stiff because I've got a small batch, and I want to fill in some gaps. If you are looking to save material, you could pack something else, maybe some rolled up toilet roll or something like that, into those gaps, just to fill them up, so you're not having to use this modelling compound. But this is a small enough build that I'm not going to bother doing that. So that's about the consistency I'm looking for. And what we do then is come along and push it in where you want it and smooth it out. And it's a good idea to keep wetting your finger while you're working, so that it doesn't stick to your fingers too much. And what we're doing here is we're looking to model the side of the hill that is around the cliffs. So there will probably be like rocks and what have you that will stick onto this, but this is maybe scree or whatever you want to call it that. So we're looking to fill in behind the cliffs, meld them together, fill in any gaps that you've got around the wood, and that's what we're trying to do. So like I say, I'll finish this mix a little bit more, because I'll almost certainly need more of this than I've got, and then when it's all done, we'll leave it to go off. If you mix this well, it goes off quite quickly. If you mix it very wet, it can sometimes take a bit of time, but it's a nice quick technique. As you can see, it doesn't take very long, but you do need to keep your hands clean. And I normally just use the water that I use for mixing and put my fingers in them every now and then, just to make sure I've not got material sticking to them, which is going to make it harder to work with. Another thing that I'm going to have to do on this, which I'll do on camera to show you, is lift it up. So just wedging that underneath it. If I lift the camera up slightly, that gives me a little bit better access to get to these little kind of like these little kind of undercut bits, it means I'm not breaking my back trying to get access. So yeah, it's actually a generic tip for all hobbying. The thing that you need to remember is you can move things around. They don't have to stay static. You can put them at different angles or what have you, and that works very well. So I'll stop muttering now, just going to keep on with this, and I'll bring you back when this is all finished and all dried, because that's going to be the next step. So yeah, just building up these layers and filling the holes. Well, for the rich soil of the Shire, I've decided I'm going to go with this lovely red brown. So this has been sat on my shelf for literally years without being touched. I always add washing up liquid to my paint mixes, so my terrain paint. This is got water in it, PVA and the paint to give it a colour. So I always add washing up liquid or dish soap or whatever. This has sat for years and it was still good. I had to add a little bit more water to it because some of that had evaporated, and I added a little bit more PVA just to make sure, but there was no mould on it, and as I say, it literally had been there untouched, unopened. I didn't even know if it was going to still be liquid enough to use, and it absolutely was. So there we are. That's that little technique proven. So this will now seal my sand in, my dust as well, as I said, and it also gives a really nice base colour that I can then work from with my grass and other decorations. So we'll let that dry, and once that's dry, I'm actually going to paint the rim. Why not? Once that's dry, I'll come back and I'll show you how I'm going to do do a little bit of dry brushing on it and add some flark and what have you, and then this will be ready to have the miniature glued on, which is going to be really cool. It's nice to finish things, especially when you find them when you've forgotten to even have them. So there we are. Right, onwards. I'll let that dry now. Right then, so it's actually Monday and the workmen are here. So what I'm going to do is very quickly come along with some white paint, just some white house paint, and just dry brush over the top. It's a really quick, simple technique. Just dry brush over the top of what I did. I couldn't do this over the weekend because it took ages to dry. It was still not dry even yesterday. But this doesn't matter, that I'm going to be moving this later today. You don't need to. This paint will be dry very quickly. So there we are. We have ourselves some rushing water, and I think that is enough for now. So the next time you'll see this will be just after my lunchtime, my time today, and I'm going to ask the workmen to help me lift this up into the roof for storage. Thank goodness that's done. Now this is dried now. Didn't take very long. It's dried enough to work on anyway. So what I'm going to do is I have over here my number 2 sifted sand, which is the not finest, but the next one up. And I'm going to glue it down over basically this side. You know, I'm going to move that off and lift this up a little bit. I'm going to glue it down on this side of the cliff face. This is the steep side, so I want this to look a little bit like scree or slippy stones. So we're just going to whack, and this is going to make a bit of a mess, but it's okay. I'll sweep up afterwards. So we're going to whack some watered down PVA on here, and I'm using this spoon scatter some stones on it like this. And this can take a couple of applications potentially. But what I'm going to end up with is a nice texture, a nice stony, look like slipping rock falls, that sort of thing, that will paint up really nicely and give the impression of what I'm looking for. So it's a really quick process to do this. So you see I've just added that, bring my bucket over, and I can just tip it up, and all that has stuck. So what I'll do is I'll keep working on this. I might put some slightly larger stones in, I might put some slightly smaller stones in, but I'm just going to work on this side for now. Then I will have a look and maybe do some patches on the other side, but not as much, and then we'll come along and paint it. So once I've got all of this glued in, once this has dried the first stage as well, I'll come along and I'll put another coat of my water damp EVA over the top of everything just to seal it down. Once I've got to the stage of painting, I will then come back. Okay, I changed my mind a little bit. I've actually come along with some of this larger stuff that is the result of my sifting out for the more gravelly material that I use, more sandy material that I use for my grout mix, and I'm putting alcohol on, 99% alcohol there, and then I have a dropper, and what I can do is I can dropper my PVA on, and that sinks in because the alcohol breaks up the surface tension, and that will make it solid. So this is going to be multiple applications. I'm going to leave it now fully to go off and dry before I do anything else. You can see that there's quite a few places that probably needs more of this texture added, but that will dry absolutely solid. It might take a day or so to dry, but that will dry absolutely solid, and I can then come along and do more of these areas here. This is the mix that I'm using. Let me just get a little Boxset. So it literally is the result of me sifting out some with some dirt that I picked up off of outside, and it makes a really good varied size mix. So I'm going to leave that alone. I will let you know how many applications. I might turn the camera back on a bit and show some more applications, but that's the idea. This is going to be a really rocky face. I will be able to put some grass and what have you and break it up a bit and do things with colours, but yeah, I want this to be the scree side of the ridge. Well, that was fun. I'm not sure entirely how much of that got recorded and how much of it had audio. However, me and my two builders just managed to manhandle the lake up here. I had to take some of the trees off just to make it transportable, so I'll bring them up now and then I'll put a sheet over this and it can stay here for a little while. The reason I put it here is if you look at how unfinished the floor is on this part of our attic. However, the floor is finished underneath that, so they wouldn't have to move that if they ever come and do the skim on the floor for the next section of the roof. So it just means that it doesn't need to be moved for a while. If ever there's a definition of a folly build, I think that's it. In the classical meaning of folly, where someone builds something totally stupid as a monument to their craziness, and then it's totally pointless. That could be it. But maybe once this upstairs is done and I can pull it out and have it on a nice table, and it will look amazing, and I can build the rest of it, which is what I'm planning on doing, extending it both ways basically. Probably not any more resin because that's ridiculous, but I might make it much longer, go into a mountain going off the top, then maybe it won't be a folly. But for now it feels a bit like a folly, so I'm going to leave it here with the covered over in a rag, and for now that will end this story and this adventure. It's been a long one. Right, this is dried now, and I did do another coat over it, as you can see. So what I'm going to do now is going to do some dry brushing. I've got a couple of colours here. I've got this one, which is the coffee, and I'm going to take most of the paint off on my thing there, and I'm just going to come along and very carefully dry brush over it. And you can see, even though there's almost no paint on the brush, that is making a difference. So that's enough of that. And then I've got this one, which is cream, which is much lighter. And I'm going to take most of the paint off as well. And I'm that tight, I'm going to scrape the massive excess off into the pot. And then once again, we will take most of the paint off, and then come along and just do another light dry brush, and that just highlights the dirt and the little pebbles or what have you that we're kind of wanting to make make it look like there is. So yeah, next up what we're going to do is I'm going to come along and I'm going to start working on the greenery on the sides. So I don't know if I've got time right now, I might come back to that a little bit later, but it won't be very long for you. Right, I have decided I've got time. So I've pulled out some of these little bushes, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in here. So I need to make a hole. I might have to take this off of that base actually. So make a little hole with this bradawl, like so. Dip the end in my PVA here. Get a good amount of PVA on it, and I am going to have to seal this because they're already dropping. And then press that into the hole. Like that. So we have our first one. And what I'm going to do is going to do white, pink, white. So work out where the next one's going to go. Get the hole. Like that. Get the PVA. And then press it in. Like so. And then the last one is going to have to go here, and there's not quite as much material here, so I might end up going through the base. We shall see. Hopefully that'll be enough to secure it. What I might do is do some flock and what have you underneath, and that will also build up a little bit of a layer. So put some PVA on that, and then get that one into that hole. And that's not going in as well because it's too shallow. There we are. Right, so let's just make sure we can get our... Yeah, I think that last one may not work. Actually looking at it. Let's see if we can get our horse and cart down next to it. Just about. If I push them out a little bit. Push that one out there. And this one is not going in. What I might do is get my angle-nosed pliers, which means I can grip this right down the bottom and push it in, hopefully. There we are. And now we should find that we can get past. There we are. Right, so that's that side. This side I'm going to do lower. I don't want to hide it entirely, but I did want to have a nice high hedge on the other side. So this side, the side nearest us, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some tufts. I've got some nice colourful ones here, so I'll use some of them. Just looking through all of my big box of tufts, which is just out of shot. Need some grass ones. Haven't got very many grass ones left, it looks like. Here's some from Geek Gaming. Luke is always a good bet. So what we'll do, I'll just use my big pliers, dip that in some glue, and press it in place. So I'll do some green and I'll do some coloured ones, and that will make that look really nice. And then, like I say, once this is dried, I might come along with some of with some flock and just seal in underneath these that side. I can possibly even use some tea leaves. I'll have a think about it, but I will bring you along obviously when I get to it. So let's pick a nice bright tuft out of this box. That box doesn't want to stay open, that can go over there. So let's pick a nice big tuft and slap that down here, and pick a nice yellow with a bit of blue and slap that down here. Right, that'll do for now. That's looking great. I might come back with some flock and some things underneath, but I'm going to leave that to dry now, and then it'll be a case of attaching the model to it, and it's done. Brilliant, really close to finished. Well, that's actually secured in really well, so I'm pretty pleased. So what I'm going to do is I've got this Stålgrün, Lichtgrün Strömaterial, light green grass material or base material, and I'm going to put this on. So going to get a little bit of PVA glue in the places where I want it. Just make sure it doesn't go onto the lane, because I don't want it on the lane. There we are, a little bit of PVA. Clean that side off, and then get the material, so zooming that out slightly, and just drop it on like this, and shake it off a little bit more, and there we have a little bit of grass in between those. So I'll do the other side under the trees, and then when that's done, I'm probably going to use varnish to seal it, spray varnish, and then I'll glue Gandalf in place. So this is very nearly finished. I'm pretty happy with how I've got the stones on this for the screed. So what I'm going to do, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along to the black house paint and slap that over it all. And that will give me a good base to start from and bring all the colours that I want to bring out of it. Now I'll probably, funnily enough, be returning it relatively close to the colours it's got now, but you do need to paint. If you don't paint stones, they keep looking like stones. So yeah, even if you like the colour of your stones, paint them back to that colour, because you'll be able to get a better result and make it look more realistic. So I'll get this done, and then when this is dried, I'll bring you back. Some of them might fall off, that's okay. When this is dried, I'll bring you back, and we'll start working on the individual colours. Shouldn't take too long to paint this. Right, so I've sealed all this, and I actually put PVA all the way over all of the plants and everything. It's not 100% dry, but it's dry enough for my purposes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along and I'm going to glue your man Gandalf and his cart and his horse in place, like so. So I've got some super glue. If I can get it open, yes I can, good. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to put some glue on the bottom of his... You know what? The first thing I'm going to do is something totally different. I'm going to glue the cart and the horse together. That's going to be better. I did actually have it glued together before, but unfortunately it came apart at one point. So we're just going to put some glue on there, and I will let that set for a little bit, and then I'll come back and glue it in place. I'll turn the camera back on, probably about an hour, glue that in place, and then we'll be done, which is awesome. It's actually only been about 10 minutes or so, but this is already set. So, gonna put my glue on it. Hopefully not run out while I'm on camera, if I might do. A little bit of glue on the bottom of the wheels. There we are. And then we can set them in place. Press that down a bit and then let that to dry. And that is done. And as I've said a few times, I'm really pleased with how that looks. I think that has turned out perfectly. It's exactly what I wanted. What a great little model it is, and what fun. So there we are, Gandalf on cart is done. Absolutely fantastic. So here we have plans for Fort Marion, or as it's more properly known now, Castillo de San Marcos. This is a star fort that is in St. Johns County, Florida. And my plan is to try to make this in 28mm scale, which is going to be huge. I've started just now a little bit, not done very much. I started a bit of scale conversion. I found these on the, got loads of these printouts here, and I found them on the Library of Congress website. There were lots of very detailed plans, which is very, very cool. And I've started to convert the sizes on them. They're written here, very small in feet and inches, into millimeters, so I can look to see how big it is. And this length here, done at 28mm scale, is 1170 millimeters. So over a meter long just for that bit, and over a meter long just for that bit. So if we take that and kind of measure it across, we're looking at about 2.5 meters across that way, and this is obviously very, very rough, and about 2 meters or just more going this way. So it's going to be a very, very big build, and I've no idea whether I'm going to achieve it. Now the plan is to have this done for the summer of the Great Pirate Paint-Off, sorry, that's what it's called. Yeah, so it's going to be quite a big build, quite a lot of fun, and I'm really, really happy to get it done. I've got until the end of summer, so let's see how it goes. The first thing I've got to do, I've got to sit here and I've got to transpose all of these measurements that are on this sheet, and there are loads. And then I'm going to go through the other measurements I've got and just like transpose all of the measurements I've got into millimeters. That will give me an idea of the scale and what I need to do and what I need to have to build it. I can then start to plan that out and work out what size of materials I need, and if I'm going to split it up, and I probably am, because a 2 or 3 meter wide thing is going to be crazy. So I need to work out how I'm going to split this up, whether I'm going to split it in half or even split it in quarters, so I could split it down this line here and split it down that line there, or what I do. So, or whether I even do it as different segments. So build this bit here, which is yeah, or whether I build it in more than one. So if I have 4 sections, which is the lower part, which is the outer shape, and then build the keep as a whole. I'm not sure. Lots of stuff to think about. Huge project. Let's see if I can do it. I'm going to try. Even if I fail, doesn't matter, I'm going to give it a go. I've long wanted to do this. I remember looking at this and thinking I'd love to do that for Blood and Plunder. Today is the day to start, and now is the time to get it done. My first name character is done, Juan Corso. That was a lot of fun. I did record all of it, filmed all of it for the an Average Painter channel, so go check that out if you're interested. But yeah, I'm gonna that's done, and I've got 2 more of these name characters that I want to get done this month. So I'm on the 10th right now as I record this, so hopefully I can get those finished, but I'm pretty pleased with how that's looking. I'm pretty happy with the result. It's about as good as I can do, and while I won't win, at least I'll be entering, and that's what matters. So yeah, great stuff. And there'll be time actually when this vlog comes out. If you're interested, I'll try to remember to put a link in the description below to the competition that I'm doing and all the different things that I'm thinking of doing for it, so you can get involved if you want to. Well, here we are. This is the Grimbeorn that I've painted up, and I've got the bear, the base and the Grimbeorn done. I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. What I'm going to do now is glue Mr. Bear into position, which is quite hard to do from this angle, but it basically sits a bit like that. So I'll get that glued in place. I won't film it because it's just going to stick some glue on. And then once that's all set and done, I'll bring you back and we'll do the basing. So these come with nice scenic bases. As you can see, I painted the wood up and the wood and the stone here. Very, very simple. And I did do a video on the average painter, so you can see how I've painted all of these if you're interested. That'll be coming out at some point soon. But yeah, so I'll get that glued in and bring you back for the basing very shortly. Right, so it's time to do some basing now. So I have a couple of different sets of tufts. I've got some large tufts here from Geek Gaming, and I've got some very small tufts here from Serious Play. So on the tray, on the plate here, I've got a little dollop of PVA glue. I never fully rely on the self-adhesive nature of these tufts because in my experience it's just never enough. And what I'm going to do is just going to stick a few tufts across the base like this. I use tweezers just so that I don't stick them to my fingers, but I think these tweezers are on their way out. I might need to buy some new ones. So I'm just going to stick some smaller tufts around and possibly one big tuft and then some smaller tufts on the base for the man figure. But it is a very simple thing. And then once these have dried, what I'm going to do is get some arid grasslands base ready and stick that on. But I'll wait for this to fully dry before I apply that. So yeah, nice and simple technique. And it looks great once it's done. So once this is dry, I'll bring you back again and show you how I do the base ready stuff, though I'm sure I've done it lots of times, but I will do it again on this one. So yeah, just stick some grass in there and there, let that to dry and then come back later and do the base ready. I've just spent an enjoyable little while scattered through today working out the angles and the dimensions of this awesome fort, and what I can tell you is it's not it's certainly not symmetrical. So if we have a look at the courtyard is narrower, so it's 599. This is in scale, 599mm on this side, 635 on this side, and this side would be 574 and this side would be 589, so it's like a parallelogram. The line between these external things, these wings or whatever you want to call them, is about 2.5 times or twice 2.5 times as far in from the courtyard as on this side. So the line between these two is very close to the wall, and the line between these two on this side is quite a long way inside. So where I've got to, I mean, I've done lots of measuring and I've worked out roughly what I would need to make and where I would split it. So I'd have 4 of these separate and then these interesting kind of like parallelogram shapes for each of the walls, and then that would slot together quite nicely. You could do it with some joiners, which would be quite easy to do, would be possible to do, and then you would be able to like potentially have literally just one line of the fort on the board if you wanted to, and that would look good, and or you could have the whole fort or whatever. So it gives you that flexibility. The maximum length of any of these is going to be about 1 meter, maybe just a bit less than 1 meter between those. I've not yet worked that extent out. That's where I got to when I realised, well, this is just totally all over the place. But yeah, so I'm not going to decide whether I'm going to do it fully square. I mean, I don't need to do the courtyard fully square. I quite like the idea that that's a little bit crooked, but whether I do that wall is the same as that wall is the same as that wall is the same as that wall on the external dimensions or not, I'm not sure. So I'm going to sleep on it. I think I probably will end up going for it being symmetrical. It's going to simplify the build a lot, and at the scale I'm looking at, that's what, 3 centimeters. This is 3 centimeters longer than that one. This is what 1.5 centimeters longer. It's not a huge amount. It's not actually quite a large difference. The 3 centimeters is quite a lot, but it's not a huge difference. This here 745, that's 669. That's a larger difference. So I need to balance this as to whether I'm going to do it symmetrical or not, and I will I will report back. I'm going to sleep on it and see what I think. Well, it's the next morning and the decision has been made. I did post onto the Blood and Plunder Discord about this being out of whack and had some really funny responses. A guy called Natural Causes, don't know actually who it is, I think he might run some competitions in the United States, said if it's not going in a museum, just square it up and go. I said, yeah, that's what I think it is. It feels like a cop-out. And then he replied, and this made me laugh so much. If that thing isn't perfect, I'm not playing on that table ever. Total trash. I can't believe anybody would soak that many hours into building a 4-foot fort, that's hard to say, that is an inch off the real model. The guy might as well go play checkers instead of a miniature war game. And yeah, I was laughing and laughing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to square it up. I'm not happy about it. I would rather do it so that it was exactly right, but it is going to add an immeasurable amount of effort to the task to try to do it perfectly. So what I need to do now, and what I'm going to do now, is I'm going to work out how much foam I need. Now, my plan is to build this using white foam. I can buy really cheap, thick white foam here. So I should be able to get that, get 10 centimeter or 8 centimeter, so 80 mil thick foam is what I think I'm going to go for. And I'm going to make these out of 80 mil foam, so the walls will be out of 80 mil foam, and these shapes here will be out of the 100 mil foam. The reason for that is I will then get some 20 mil foam to go over the top, something like that, and I'll be able to cut these rooms out. That's my current thinking. Whether I do end up doing that or whether I end up building this with walls and then a roof, that's what I'm currently planning, but I think these here will be solid, so I can just buy a big block of foam, cut it to size and be done with it. So that's what I'm going to be doing now, just working out what materials I need. I'll bring you back, show you what the material list is when it's done. Alright, so I'm just getting myself ready to do my basing material with the base ready technique. So we've got the base, got the glue here, which has got a little bit dried over the top, which does happen every now and then. So yes, we put some glue. Yep, there it is. Run some glue around the bottom of this, like this. And then what I use a toothpick to spread it around and shove it into all the little bits, so it definitely gets good coverage. So just a bit of a toothpick, rather than using a paintbrush, because this stuff will absolutely destroy any paintbrush it touches. If you do use a paintbrush, you may as well throw that paintbrush away straight after the application. So I'm going to do this in little steps. I'll do the first one so you can watch, and then do the rest off camera. So we get a nice coating of the glue, and then just drop some stuff on top and then shake it off again, and there we have it. So I'll do that all the way around the rest of this base, and I'll also do the one for the human form, and then it'll be a case of painting the rim and the whole thing is finished. Super simple, but I managed to get the bar painted up, as you can see. Pretty happy with that, and I did put some little kind of rings on the top for drink rings, because I think that any bar would get stained or have some kind of like marks on the top. And the front, you can see the back of it, the bar side, the bartender side. You can see there's the barrels and the little bits of metal detail. So it's a super simple thing to paint up, but I really enjoyed it. As I record this, the voting I think is a tie for next week, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do about that. But that's the miniature painted, so I'll wait to see if anyone else votes, and then we'll pick up our next miniature. So yeah, pretty cool. Enjoying this. I mean, I've only done two miniatures, but I'm enjoying it. And now comes the moment of truth. This is where we can make or break this entire project. So you can see that the black paint has worked well. what I've got here is a whole bunch of different colours, oranges and reds and beiges and what have you. And I'm going to dry brush and stipple them on all over the rocks. I'm going to try and leave, if I can, the dirt. I'm just going to do the rocks in this stage. Though I might do the dirt with a brown, with a ready brown, which I've got over here. So yeah, so I'm going to get a load of colours done on this, and I'll probably put the camera on and just put some music on and run it while I'm doing it, because I'm not entirely sure how it's going to work, so I'm not going to want to talk, I want to concentrate. But that's the plan, and once I've done that, then I will come across and I will bring it all together with the greys to do a grey dry brush over the whole thing, which will then dull down and deaden down the bright colours I put on, and should give it a really nice, interesting look, which is what you get in real life. Rock isn't just grey, it's all sorts of colours, blues and yellows. I'll probably pull some more colours other than this in. So yeah, so I'll get the camera running and record some of this, put some music on, and you can enjoy and watch this develop. So today, Rosie and I popped out to the shop and we picked up some 8cm white foam and also some 2cm blue foam. The 8cm white foam is what I'm going to use to make these areas here. Now, I don't know what they're actually called. I'm calling them the triangular bits at the moment. I need to find out the real word. But what I've done is I've printed out a screenshot or a section of the plan. I know the dimension of this wall, and I've been able to work out the ratio between this length on the paper and that length in scale. It's 4.1307. I've then measured across here and found that this is an equilateral triangle, which I could have known by just working out that angle, which is 60 degrees obviously, so I didn't need to print out in huge, but I kind of did, because I also need to have the length here. Now the length here is 7 centimetres on the plan, and that is 289 millimetres across there. So I thought, great. And then I looked at the white foam, which is the largest white foam you can buy. This is a 50 centimetre ruler. I need 54 centimetres across, and it is 50 centimetres. This is only 50 centimetres. So what I'm going to have to do is cut this in half. So like that basically. So I will have this length will be 290, 145. So I'll have a 145, a 578, a 537 and a 169. And that will then mean that I cut 2 of these out from one sheet, which I'm pretty sure I can do, so it's not going to be a complete waste of material. So I can cut like this and then like that, and then I'll be able to glue them together, and then each sheet will give me one triangle, which isn't what I wanted because I only bought 3 sheets. So I'm going to need to go out and buy another sheet of 8 centimetre. I knew I should have bought 4. Another sheet of 8 centimetre, and then I'll be able to make everything I need for, have everything what I need for these little areas. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this template here out of cardboard. So I will get some cardboard and I'll show you how I'm going to go about doing that, because obviously I'm going to need to make it so that it's not going to get damaged by the hot wire cutter and all that stuff. So I'll probably wrap tape around the edges and whatever. So that's the next step. I just thought I'd talk you through that process, show you what I've got here, and we're going to start on the first cuts, which is really quite exciting actually, to be honest. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. Going to build these first, and while I'm doing that I will start to work on the walls and start to work on those as well. But the first thing that I'm going to build is going to be these. So let's get some templates made. So there you are. And to give you an idea of just how long and stressful this week has been, I completely forgot that I finished up and moved the lake build when I was recording the intro, so how about that? Really, really good to get that out of the way and to have finished it, frankly. So that will be coming as a build video to the channel relatively soon, I reckon, because, yeah, well, it's been epic, hasn't it? And it's been years in the progress. So anyway, if you've made it this far, really appreciate it. Don't forget to put your comment below with your vote for the miniature. I had like 200 and some people watch the vlog last week, and I had 10 votes. We could do better than that. Come on, people. We could do better than that. if that's like 2%. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I really appreciate every single one of you that did vote last week, and I really hope that more of you will vote this week. It's a lot of fun, and you will get entered into this, into the draw. I'm working out what the first month's prize is going to be right now, but it is going to be cool. I think you're going to like it, so do get involved. Anyway, once again, thank you very much for watching. I'll wrap this vlog up as I'll wrap up all my vlogs. I do shout out because I am personally impacted by both of the wars in Ukraine and Israel, and so I like to send my thoughts out to anyone else who might be in that situation, because it's horrendous. They're still going on, and I really hope that everyone that you know who might be trapped or impacted by those situations are okay. And I will say, as I always do in all of my videos, to everyone, please do stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.